students, and welcome back to the online classes. I hope you had a great day appearing for the competitions, and I really hope that every one of you might have participated in it. And now let's continue with our studies, and I'm going to start with the very third chapter. As you can see, the name is there right on your screen, that is Discovering Tut. The Saga Continues by A.R. Williams. When we talk about the title Discovering Tut, first of all, who is this Tut? Tut is basically a king of Egypt, a very young and the most youngest of all the kings ruled Egypt. The next thing is the saga continues. What does it mean? The saga continues here means the mystery continues, the story continues. Now, what the mystery is all about? Actually, the picture which is there going to come right in front of you is the basic picture that is being said to be of that of King Tut. As I told you, he was the youngest. He was just a teenager, and it has been said that he could not rule for a long time period, just some 8 to 9 years, and after that suddenly he died. But this sudden death had rattled the entire Egyptian dynasty, and also it has been said that basically there was some very deep conspiracy behind his death. The thing that happened is that in 1922 his tomb was discovered, and his mummy, you all know, it's basically the Egyptians' custom to bandage up the bodies and then preserve it forever, and they are called as mummies. So the mummy or the body of King Tut was discovered in 1922, and then when in 1922 it was discovered, a lot of rumors got stuck with it, like how he died, when he died, what was the reason of his death. Many kind of speculations were there. And then after 1922, almost around some after 80 years, again it was taken out from its tomb. Tomb means the resting place. And then for the first time a mummy was, you can say that, sent through a CT scan machine, so that the forensic department and the others could get some clues about certain things related to King Tut, like about his life, about his death, all this. And this entire chapter is about the same. I won't say that any very big moral is there in the story, but it's really an interesting thing in which we will come across how the mummy was taken out, what all things happened, the various rumors sticking to it, then the story behind the Egyptian beliefs, the resurrection, what all things King Tut was buried with, and many more. Step by step, we'll be going through it. So let's begin the chapter. Chapter 3, Discovering Tut, the saga continues by A.R. Williams. He was just a teenager when he died, the last heir of a powerful family that had ruled Egypt and its empire for centuries. He was laid to rest, laden with gold, and eventually forgotten. Since the discovery of his tomb in 1922, the modern world has speculated about what happened to him, with murder being the most extreme possibility. Now, leaving his tomb for the first time in almost 80 years, Tut has undergone a CT scan that offers new clues about his life and death, and provides precise data for an accurate forensic reconstruction of the boyish parable. Now here, as it has been said very clearly, he was just a teenager when he died, and moreover he was the last heir means like the successor, like how you say, no? The last ruler of that Egyptian empire. And then when he died, like how the basic process is done for the mummies created, he was also resting, he was also made to lay resting in his coffin covered with gold. Laden means he was just over, means being burdened up, not burdened up, he was just covered with gold, everywhere gold and gold. And then after that, he was forgotten. Then suddenly in 1922, his tomb was discovered, his mummy was taken out, and then the rumors started circulating. And it was also believed that the most probable reason of his death might be murder. So that is why, in after around some 80 years, 1922 and then 80 years, means somewhat in 2002, something like that, again his mummy was taken out and it was sent into a CT scan machine so that the forensic department can reconstruct the story of his life and death, and they could solve the mystery. The mystery of this boyish, means a young boy pharaoh king. Now the story continues in this way. An angry wind stirred up ghostly dust devils as King Tut was taken from his resting place in the ancient Egyptian cemetery known as the Valley of the Kings. Dark bellied clouds had scudded across the desert sky all day and now were veiling the stars in cascade grey. It was 6 p.m. on 5 January 2005. The world's most famous mummy glided headfirst into a CT scanner, brought here to probe the lingering medical mysteries of this little understood young ruler who died more than 3,300 years ago. Okay, this first stanza which I read out, this first paragraph actually which I read out, not stanza, paragraph which I read out, it very clearly tells us about that entire atmosphere in which the body of, mummy of King Tut is going to be taken out. Now here it is given, an angry wind stirred up ghostly dust devils. See, it's trying to make this first paragraph, the very first line is trying to build up a mysterious type of an atmosphere. It is said that as the mummy of King Tut was taken from his resting place, you know what, the name is given to that resting place because maybe beside him many other kings have been buried over there. That's why it is known as the Valley of Kings. And from there, when King Tut's mummy was taken out from his tomb, means his grave, suddenly the wind started blowing hard. And then dark bellied clouds that scudded across the desert sky all day and now were veiling the stars in cascade grey. Means suddenly the dark clouds which had been running across the sky, desert sky. You all know Egypt and you all know about those tombs where they are buried, pyramids and all. And then now it has been said that the clouds which had been moving across the desert sky suddenly came and they have made a veil. You know what is a veil? Veil means gugat, right? A covering. So they had made a veil across the stars. Means down the suddenly it has become very dark. It has become very mysterious. And then it was 6 p.m. year 2005, date 5 January. Not exactly 8 years, but still, okay, 8 years plus. And then this famous mummy, it was taken out and it glided head first. You might be having a rough knowledge of how a CT scanner looks like, a CT scan machine. So this mummy, it its head went first into the scanner, a scanner which was brought over there so that they can probe, means they can go more deep into the mysterious medical history that was attached, lingering, that was attached to this little Paraho, this boy ruler, the young ruler who died somewhat 3,300 years ago. All afternoon, the usual line of tourists from around the world had descended into the cramped, rock cut tomb, some 26 feet underground, to pay their respects. They gazed at the murals on the walls of the burial chamber and peered at Tut's gilded face, the most striking feature of his mummy shaped outer coffin lid. Some visitors read from guidebooks in a whisper. Others stood silently, perhaps pondering Tut's untimely death in his late teens, or wondering with a shiver if the Paraho's curse, death or misfortune, falling upon those who disturbed him was really true. Okay, let's come to the second. Still, we are not out of the mysterious atmosphere. Now, the entire afternoon, means around 6 p.m., the mummy was taken out. So, before that, the entire afternoon, there was a line of tourists who just came from around the world who went into the cramped rock cut tomb, somewhat 26 feet underground. You may have seen the pyramids, right? And actually, the tomb means the place where they are buried. These kings who were buried over there, these mummies who were buried over there, they were buried in a mountain, which is, or you can say that a rock which is been cut and turned into their grave. And it was around some 26 feet underground. And the tourists, they were there to pay homage or respect, and then they gazed at the murals on the walls of burial chamber. You might have seen that in the olden days they used to draw pictures on the wall. You might have heard about it when you have studied history and all, no? That cavemen and all those things, when they used to draw pictures and all on the walls of the cave and all. In the same way, here also the murals, it means burial time, they have drawn some pictures over there. So they were all looking at those murals which were there on the walls of the burial chamber. Burial chamber means where the king's body was buried, and then peered at Tut's gilded face, the most striking feature of his mummy shaped outer coffin lid. Now, basically, I hope that you all might have at least seen a coffin of a mummy in movies. You might have seen Mummy Returns movie. Yeah, correct. Exactly like that. Means it is in the shape of that of a human being, the body shape, and then that particular coffin's top cover, which was having Tut's gilded face. Gilded here means golden face. That was the most striking part of his coffin. The outer part full gold. So everyone was attracted towards it, and they were all looking at it appealingly. Some visitors, those who were having the guidebooks in their hand, they started whispering, reading the guidebooks. Some stood very silently, maybe thinking over how he died, how he was buried, in what age he died, etc., etc. But some were there who were just shivering. You know why they were shivering? Because it is a belief that if you ever disturb the mummies resting in peace, then a curse or a wrath may befall over you, or any kind of misfortune. Like how I said, no? The movie you might have seen, how when the mummy is disturbed is, or the coffin is opened up, the mummy comes to life, and then it's a curse for everyone. Same way. Let's see further. The mummy is in very bad condition because of what Carter did in the 1920s, said Zahi Hawass, Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, as he leaned over the body for a long first look. Carter, Howard Carter, that is, was a British archaeologist who in 1922 discovered Tut's tomb after years of futile searching. Its contents, though hastily ransacked in antiquity, were surprisingly complete. They remain the richest royal collection ever found and have become part of the powerhouse legend. Stunning artifacts in gold, their eternal brilliance meant to guaranteed resurrection, caused a sensation at the time of discovery and still get the most attention. But Tut was also buried with everyday things he would want in the afterlife: board games, a bronze razor, linen undergarments, cases of food and wine. Okay, now that in 2005, 5 January, 6 pm, when the mummy was taken out and the cover of that gold coffin, when it was opened up, Zahi Hawass, who was the secretary of that particular organization, who was in charge of this organization named as the Egyptian Supreme Council of Antiquities, he just leaned over Tut's mummy and he said that really the mummy is in a very bad condition from the time Carter has touched it. Now, who is this Carter? Actually, Howard Carter was a British archaeologist who was the first person to discover the tomb of King Tut in 1922. And then Zahi Hawass introspected the mummy of Tut, which was lying inside the gold coffin, and it looked like as if though someone has hastily ransacked. Hastily ransacked means in hurry burry, if you search something and then things just falls here and there, but still all the things, you can say basically the gold items and all, or the valuable things which were supposed to be in the coffin, they were intact, they were perfectly there. And it is also considered that the amount of gold items which were there inside the coffin of King Tut was the richest royal collection ever found. And basically it is also one of the reasons why they had put all those things is a guaranteed resurrection, a deep belief of life after death. Resurrection, rising from the dead, means body dies, soul takes shape. And believing that a lot of items used to be buried with the body. Though with King Tut's body, a lot of valuable things were there, but because of the belief of afterlife, many of the things which he can use in his afterlife, they were also buried along with his body. And they were board games for his time pass maybe, and a bronze razor, then linen undergarments, cases of food and wine, means the food and wine which he might need in the afterlife. And in this way, I will just give a pause to my explanation for this chapter for the time being, and the rest will continue in the very next video. Till then, take care and be safe.